Hello everyone, welcome to today's short and sweet and brief lecture on 3 note-taking strategies that you can use for recording information, remembering information, which is very, very important, right? Especially for listening, right? You need to remember the information. You can't just memorize everything in your mind, right? You need to record it on paper, all right? So it'll help you remember. Okay, so we're going to look at 3 strategies today, and that will be Cornell note-taking, then the outline methods of note-taking, and lastly the mind mapping method of note-taking. So we'll have a look at these in some detail. I'll show you some examples of these where I will go through the advantages and also the disadvantages of using these 3 different types of note-taking strategies. Now remember, it is really critical that you do use note-taking at college, right? Because you need to remember information from lectures and also seminars, right? You can't just memorize the information in your mind. You're gonna forget, right? Over time. All right, everyone, well, let's get straight into this. And firstly, we're going to look at the Cornell method of note-taking. Secondly, we're going to look at the outline method of note-taking. And lastly, to conclude the lecture, we'll look at, well, one of my favorites, the mind mapping method of note-taking. All right, so I'll see you shortly. Stay awesome. Hello everyone, great to see you all again. So let's get straight into this. So we have a look at the Cornell method of note-taking first. Now, this is probably one of the most popular forms of note-taking in college. Now, the idea of Cornell is you'll put the main ideas on the left-hand side, any key information, important information, left-hand side. Then on the right-hand side, you're going to put the relating detail, all right, on that side. So relating detail to the keywords or important information, right? So be more detail there on the right hand side that you can put there. Now you'll see at the bottom we have a summary, and the summary is kind of like just you're going to briefly summarize the main points of what you noted down from the lecture, right? So that's your Cornell method. Now this is a great way for recording information. And as you can see, the layout makes it quite easy for remembering the information, right? It's quite structured, it's quite organized. If you just want to look at the key information, it's always there on the left. Or if you want to go back to more detailed information, you just concentrate on the right-hand side, right? Or if you don't have much time, you just look at your summary that you've made, right? So that's your Cornell method of note-taking. Now let's move on to our next method of note-taking, and this is going to be, as you can see, the inline method. Now this one is, I would say, a little bit more difficult, especially if there's a lot of information from a lecture, and if the lecturer or speaker is speaking quite fast, right? It's going to be hard to jot down all the information, but the way you do this would be in a logical order, bullet points or in numbers, where you'd write down the information, what you think is important from that lecture. But once again, one disadvantage, it's quite difficult, this one, when the speaker is really speaking fast. All right, so this is a little bit more difficult, I would say. Now let's move on to our next method of note-taking. This is one of my favorites, and this is what we call the mind mapping method of note-taking. Now this is very visual, and I would say quite simple and easy to do, right? And if a lecturer is speaking very fast or there's a lot of information to take in, this is a good way to record information very quickly, right? And it helps to link your ideas and concepts perhaps that were covered in the lecture. You can use pictures as well as diagrams as well to help remember the information. So mind mapping is a good way, and I would say one of the best ways to remembering information when the lecturer is speaking very fastly and there's a lot of information to take in. This is a good way of recording that information in a kind of a fun, in a creative, and a very visual way. And you're connecting all the main ideas together, right? As you can probably see through my example there. All right, everyone. Thanks very much again for listening. And as always, take care and you know the drill. Stay awesome.